So when we are first introduced to Kwesi and his crew in Gambia, it's pitch black at night. They are driving to the airport to pick up Phoenyx Rain. They make sure to show you that Mercedes-Benz logo. And this is important because they are conveying a message to you without ever saying a word that they have money and that they have connections. Not many people in Gambia are going to be driving a Mercedes-Benz. So right off the bat, we know that we are dealing with high money rolling men with power.
Banjul International Airport. We're waiting to pick up, our third guest. However, she's more than a guest.
Did you catch that? Phoenyx Rain, according to Kwesi Boyd, is quote unquote more than a guest. Now, throughout this video, you will never hear Kwesi Boyd refer to Phoenyx as an executive secretary, as an administrative assistant, as an accountant who's doing his books. He refers to her as a community member and as more than a guest. Now, you may say, why is that important? That's a great question. It's important because titles identify people and who they are in relation to you. The fact that Kwesi never refers to Phoenyx as any sort of employee or partner in his business tells us that he did not see her in that way, that he saw her as more than a guest. And this is going to become more apparent as the video goes on. Let's take another look.
Community member, Phoenyx Rain. She made her flight from the U.S. to Brussels, now Brussels to here. And you can see it's hundreds of people out here. Hundreds of people out here. Everything is open back up now. So we have our person in immigration that's picking her up right now. And they're going to meet us out here in just a few seconds. But we're at the airport here in the Gambia, and a flight just came in. So it's hundreds of people here, hundreds of people just waiting for their loved ones and their family members to come off the flights. And we'll update you guys in just a second. We're going to pause this video, and we're going to move in closer to see if we can get up with Phoenyx. All right, peace. Yeah, Phoenyx, this is Phoenyx right here. She made it in. So let's go down and where they go?
Now, Kwesi is looking for Phoenyx, and if you notice, his stance and his walk is very much that of a lion looking for its prey. Notice how he crouches down like he wants to scare her a little bit.
Right there, turn right. Hey. He hiding. Let me. How you doing?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're tall.
Yeah, I am.
I'm the shortest one.
Now let's analyze this a little bit deeper. Did you notice her reaction to Kwesi? Did that seem like an employee who is seeing her boss for the first time? Or does that seem like a woman who is happy to see the man who is coming to save the day, her knight in shining armor? She's been broke. Her daughter made him promise to take care of her. She's so happy to see him. They're hugging. They're extremely close. Phoenyx, as you can see, is so happy to see Kwesi, and she's beaming with joy. And as a woman, when you hug a man in this full body hug, all of your womanliness is rubbing up against him. And so we know as women, when we give a man that full body hug, that's giving him something he can feel. And so I'm just saying that the body language in this clip tells us that Phoenyx and Kwesi had a far more intimate relationship than what we think.
And you the tallest one, but you know what? They're gonna stand me beside you in the picture so I can be the light bright.
Yeah.
Were you paying attention to what she said? I hope so, because this is an important turning point. She immediately begins to reference her skin color as a light bright. And so essentially, when she uses that phrase, she is identifying herself as an object of adoration to Kwesi. She is not presenting herself as a whole human being. She is verbally and non-verbally communicating to Kwesi she is a light bright. She is a bright woman who can be his object of adoration. Now, notice who initiates the color discussion. It's Phoenyx, not Kwesi. And so you want to ask yourself why. Well, the reason why Phoenyx would do this unconsciously is because she's trying to display her value to him. She's indicating to him that I may not have money, I may not have status, but I am a light-skinned woman who can fulfill your dreams. She is also communicating to Kwesi in so many words that he must value her because she is a light bright. Notice that she's using this as a status marker, a status symbol. Let's watch a little bit more.
Well, yeah, guys, now I know cool doing that.
You know what? It wasn't too bad. They got me through immigration really well, and of course, Cole and my brother here with the baggage, they took very good care of me. The baggage situation was a little bit crazy, and some of the white passengers was a little crazy. I almost had to knock this white man out.
Now, we've only known Phoenyx for approximately 10 to 15 seconds, and already she is complaining. This is a major sign to Kwesi and the men around her that this is not going to go well. And if you notice, Kwesi's hand is literally poised over his stomach as if he's going to be ill or if he's attempting to hold something back. The nonverbal body language is showing that the men around her are not reacting well to her. Look at the immigration official on the left. This is a paid man of Kwesi's. It was mentioned earlier in the video. And this is someone who picks up people for Kwesi all the time and processes them. He knows this guy by name. His arms are folded. So look at the two men. Their arms are folded. Their arms are over their stomachs and their chests. They are not responding well to Phoenyx. Now let's examine why Phoenyx would have told that story. You'd ask yourself, it's your first time in a new country, you're around 3 males you are not related to and whom you do not know at all except for the internet, and you're telling them this story of being on an airplane and someone was too close in your space and you made a motion to elbow them. Why do you think she told that story? That was her way of subliminally telling Kwesi and the other males that she was not an easy mark, that if a man got too close to her in a way that she was not comfortable with, she would fight back.
Like bumping up, like trying to, like getting at me. I was like, don't touch me. Don't touch me. But
So, fam, you see,
I'm good. I'm here. I'm here.
She
It's
made it.
real. I made it.
I'm so excited. I don't even know how to act.
Listen.
I don't know if go to sleep or stay up.
Oh, we're not going to sleep yet.
Did you catch that? Kwesi said he doesn't know whether he should go to sleep or stay up, and Phoenyx let him know that they are not going to sleep tonight. This looks like flirting to me, and there is nothing wrong with that. But this definitely looks like a man and a woman sizing one another up for something much more intimate than a working relationship. Notice how Phoenix is dressed in a Muslim country, and it is absolutely her right to dress that way, and I see nothing wrong with it. But notice that her shoulders are out. Notice that her arms are bare. Notice how closely her and Kwesi are sitting next to one another.
So listen, the car is.
So now things are starting to get heated because Kwesi is beginning to direct. If you can see, he's beginning to point and expand himself as a man. He's showing his dominance. However, you have Phoenix also beginning to preen herself. You see her touching her hair and fixing it and wanting to be presentable, which is very natural. This is a natural mating process in the animal kingdom where you have the female preening and you have the male exerting dominance. Now we are in the car and Phoenix and Kwesi are sitting extremely close to one another. They are touching shoulder to shoulder. This is a Muslim man who knows Islamic codes of how to interact with women that you are not related to. Look at how Kwesi is leaning on her arm deliberately. He's testing her boundaries to see how much of her space he can enter without her being resistant. He's talking to her and he's allowing her to express herself. If you notice, Phoenix is wildly gesticulating. She's talking very fast. If you listen to the video itself, which I will link below, she seemed a little bit nervous to me. It was a kind of hyper nervous energy as if she wasn't sure of herself. And so that's what's coming across in this video. If you see Phoenix, she's not making direct eye contact with Kwesi. She is looking at the side of his face. She's looking at him from an angle, but they are not in direct eye contact mode. And so you can see by the way that she is shifting that she knows something is not right here. I don't know if it's her comfort level with Kwesi. Like, for example, she may not be comfortable with how he's leaning up against her, and that very well could be it, but it's causing her to overcompensate. So she's talking a lot with her hands, she's shaking her head and moving a lot. You can see she's not smiling. It's almost like she's in a self-defense mode, which is strange because this is someone who she was really happy to see. So we can see that now that she's in the car and in a enclosed space with Kwesi, she's beginning to get the picture that this is not going to be a free trip after all, if you know what I mean. And so she's talking to Kwesi. Kwesi is looking at the camera and he's checking her out. If you notice, Kwesi surveys her body from the sides of his eyes. He just kind of glances. He doesn't look too long, but he's definitely checking her out in the way that men do, and ever so often he will lean back in as he's doing right now. So he's testing boundaries. He leans in and then he leans away. He leans in and then he leans away. He's pushing Phoenix's envelope to see how far he can go. Phoenix is literally shrinking. If you watch her on the screen, she's sinking into her seat. She's not sitting up tall and proudly. She's leaning into the seat. She's at a very uncomfortable angle. It looks almost like a 45-degree angle. And you wonder, like, why would she be sitting at that angle? Well, it's because she's angling her body away from Kwesi. And we can't see the bottom, but I can almost guarantee you that she was shifting her knees and her legs away from him. So this is a very uncomfortable car ride, in my opinion. Based on my experience with body analysis and communication analysis, Phoenix is not very comfortable on this car ride. She's probably wondering to herself who she's really gotten involved with. She's shaking her head vigorously. She's looking out of the window a lot. She's looking ahead a lot. If you notice, she's rolling her eyes and her mouth is turned up almost in a slight frown. And see, men are not very perceptive in terms of those things. Men are trained to be hunters, so their ability to decipher small communication cues is not quite as advanced as women. This is a scientific fact. And so Kwesi is not picking up on the cues that Phoenix is uncomfortable and that she's leaning away and that she's overcompensating with her hand gestures, because he's more focused on his goal of taking her to his domain. Now, I don't presume to know what's going to happen at that domain. I am not saying that anything did happen. I'm just saying that Kwesi is focused on the goal, and all of this chit chat is just filler in between. Now look at what happens has now. Checked Kwesi out of the conversation for most of this car ride. Something that's going to tell us his intentions. Already on he leans his over, next idea. Did you catch that? And he's holding her hand. And any woman who is a grown woman knows what that means when a man starts falling all over you, grabbing your neck and holding your hand. Kwesi is making his intentions known in this video, and as you can see, Phoenix has her mouth completely turned up. She has her arm and her elbow up, and she's starting to put her defenses up towards Kwesi. From my assessment, Phoenix does not look comfortable with the amount of physical contact that Kwesi is showing towards her and enacting towards her. And my heart is going out to her right now, because any woman knows what it's like to be around a man who is a little too touchy-feely, where you are not comfortable. He's smelling her, he's sniffing her, he's all in her space, and she's just doing her best to go with the flow, but you can definitely see that she is a deer in headlights for all intents and purposes. I want you to also notice where the camera is angled. The cameraman is one of Kwesi's partners or associates, and if you notice the entire video, you can see the angle that he has of Phoenix's body. And in my opinion, this is not by accident. They are showing Phoenix in a particular light. They may keep these videos for themselves. They may watch them personally. They may share them with their friends. But essentially, Kwesi has brought a new woman into his harem, and he is excited to have a light, bright, sassy American woman in his domain. American woman. Kwesi, yes, he has Gambian wives, and we presume that they are submissive and they're quiet and they're soft-spoken, but you have to understand that doesn't turn all men on. Men like variety. And so Kwesi is like, yeah, I have my soft-spoken wives, but I wouldn't mind a loud American woman who's going to talk back and talk that ish to me every once in a while. So in my opinion, what's happening here is an evaluation process. Kwesi is looking to bring Phoenix into his harem, into his domain, and he's testing her and he's trying to see if they are compatible. Based on my research, I do see that there is a strong possibility that Kwesi and artcathey were in a relationship of some kind, and I do think that Kwesi was looking to replace artcathey. I don't know what the logistics are. However, I believe that Kwesi was thinking to himself, I made one American, superstar, I can make another. And so he's bringing in the second version and he's going to phase her out. Why do you think artcathey did not want to lay eyes on Phoenyx Rain? Why do you think artcathey refused to meet with Phoenyx Rain? Because Phoenyx Rain is artcathey's replacement and she knows it. Let me repeat that. Phoenyx Rain was here to be artcathey's replacement, and artcathey knows it. So now we're getting towards the end of the video, and we see that Kwesi is becoming very animated and he's getting on 10 because, like he said earlier, he doesn't know if he wants to stay up or go to sleep. So he's excited that he is about to get his prize, whatever that is to him. Perhaps it's just the prize of bringing this new woman into his home and into his surroundings. But whatever it is to him, look at his hands. He's holding his hands in a stance of, I've got it. I've got it. See the hands together, the fingers together. Now he's becoming more animated and more physically demonstrative. And Phoenyx is looking away. She's looking out the window. She's not interacting with Kwesi at a high level because she's wanting to avoid it. But the truth is she can't avoid it very long because this car ride is going to be over very soon. And so this is part one. This is what I see based on the body language. This was a hot situation from the moment that Phoenyx landed in the Gambia. Phoenyx may or may not have known what Kwesi's intentions were for her when she boarded the plane, but during this car ride, I can 100% guarantee you that Phoenyx learned what his intentions were for her. You see Phoenyx continuing to talk. Now, this inability to just let the silence speak usually occurs when a woman wants to fill space. She wants to fill up the space. She's afraid for it to be silent because if it's silent for any amount of time, she thinks that's going to make her a victim. So Phoenyx has continued a non-stop flow of chatter, in my opinion, out of nervousness. They're not really talking about anything that substantial. They're talking about the Black family and all that sort of thing. But really, this is all filler. So stay tuned for part 2 and we'll talk.